Hello. Hello, hello. Cool, live. All right, I am just uploading one more file. I was running a little bit behind. Hey. Okay, no, that's not it. This is how long it's been since I've been live. I don't even have my StreamYard subscription anymore, so it's not very aesthetically pleasing. But I'll get it back. Okay, one more. Ooh. Hello there. California? What part of California? Oh, I'm a mess. Hi, special. Okay, got it. San Francisco. How's San Francisco doing? Who? Okay, we can start. Before we start, since I was doing the theme of Hollywood, I have to get on my soapbox for a second. Hi, John. So this story came up. Lisa Kudrow. Oh, shoot, where is it? I don't have the file for you. Anyway, so Lisa Kudrow. By the way, she gets a little bit of a pass because she's Lisa Kudrow, but she recently did this interview, I think for Variety magazine. And by the way, Lisa Kudrow, if you don't know, she's an actress. She was on Friends. Shoot, I'm a hot mess. I'm so sorry. Okay, I got it together. We're good? No, we're not. Okay, so, oh, that's so much better. So Lisa Kudrow, she was on Friends for a while, well, for the whole time. Anyway, so she was Phoebe on Friends, like the goofy blonde, and she was recently doing this interview with Variety. And by the way, if you don't know my background, I did acting and I really love comedy. So I like the history of comedy. And Lisa Kudrow. So while they were on Friends, they filmed in front of a live studio audience. And when you have a live studio audience, they clap and they laugh and things like that. The comeback on HBO was really So she said in this interview that she gave to Variety, when they were on Friends, she would get annoyed at the audience because they would laugh too long. Okay, now this is where it's incredibly offensive what she said if you are a big fan of comedy and the history of comedy. Again, she gets a pass because she's Lisa Kudrow. But where the live studio audience came from is Lucille Ball. Oh, hey, Tanner. So Lucille Ball, back in the day, if you don't know the history of how I Love Lucy came to be, this is why it's so offensive what she said. So there used to be, like, way back in the day before television was super popular, like in the baby days, a lot of comedians would have these hour-long radio shows that would run kind of like a television show would, but it was on the radio. And that's what Lucy had before I Love Lucy. And she developed her I Love Lucy character on this radio show. Anyway, the studios wanted to give her a sitcom, a television show, and they wanted her to play the Lucy character. And at the time, she was dating Desi Arnaz. I think they might have actually even been married. Is that his name, Desi Arnaz? Yeah. Why do I get him confused? I get him and his stage name or his Ricky Ricardo character confused. Anyway, they were married at the time and she wanted him to play her husband. And she said, the only way I'll do it is if he plays my husband. And at the time, having an interracial couple on television was just a huge no-no. That wasn't allowed. And the studios were like, no, we can't do it. the public isn't ready for it. They're not going to want to watch the show because of that. And Lucille Ball like stood her ground and she said, no, I'm only going to do it if he plays my husband. And instead of just completely turning it down, she decided to take that show on the road, and it was really successful. So they would do all of these live shows and it was a huge hit. So she proved to the studios that the public was ready for it. So they allowed her to have this sitcom, and she wanted it to have sort of the same feel as it did when it was a live audience. She liked that live feeling. So she wanted to bring and have it filmed kind of like a play. So that's where a multicam comedy came from. It came from Lucille Ball. Isn't that so cool? Somehow. No, I saw, oops. Yes. But that is where the whole thing came from. So if you watch a sitcom, you'll have there's two different types. A 30-minute sitcom, you'll have a multicam and a single cam. And Lucille Ball came up with the multicam, and that's why, because they wanted it to. But by the way, multicam means that you have several cameras filming at the same time from different angles instead of just one camera. And you can tell the difference because all single cams will have a live audience, or I'm sorry, all multicams will have a live audience. Single cams do not have a live audience, and you can tell by the laughter. So a single cam or a multicam, they kind of film that like a play. Anyway, I wanted to show you guys. Okay, now we're moving on. Before we talk about the dark side of Hollywood, we can sort of stay on comedy for just a second. I'll talk about John. If you, okay, I'm going to save that and then I'll answer that at the end. Someone asked me about Biden's speech. Yes. So I'll talk about that at the end because I get distracted on these streams. Okay. So recently, my favorite show ever, it's called Kill Tony. And it used to, it's essentially a live stream that they do once a week, every Monday. And it was a show that was originally live streamed at the Comedy Store. That's in Hollywood, California, which I used to live right next to the Comedy Store. And I would actually go see this show live every Monday. I used to sign up for it too. I don't know why I did that. But it's a comedy show. It's hosted by Tony Hinchcliffe and then another guy named Brian Redban. Brian Redban, he actually used to be in the live streams all the time. He did. He used to come. He was one of my earlier subscribers, and I met him at the Comedy Store, but he's also a producer for the Joe Rogan Show. And they do this show called Kill Tony, and I'm going to show you parts of it because they recently had a Trump impersonator and a Biden impersonator, and it was hilarious. So basically, the premise of the show is they have Brian Redban, Tony Hinchcliffe. They're always on the show. They host, and then they'll have famous comedians come in. They'll sit on a panel and have random new comedians come into the show, and they get like 1 minute uninterrupted. Why? And then, oh, there we go. They get 1 minute uninterrupted, and then they essentially get roasted by all the comedians. But here you're going to see, this is Shane Gillis as Trump. There's something really interesting about Shane Gillis. So he was going to be on the SNL cast, but they fired him. They announced that he was going to be on the cast, and then they fired him right before he ever even was on an episode. And they essentially fired him. He got canceled because some joke that he made on a podcast, I think years before, all of a sudden resurfaced when it was announced that he was going to be on SNL, and they fired him. So he was never on the show. And just think about that when you're watching him do Trump. So he's going to be Trump on the show. Just think about that, and think about how just unfunny SNL is and how much funnier it would have been if he played Trump on the show. So this is him entering. Hopefully, I don't get a copyright on that because there's some music.
Oh my God. Ladies and gentlemen, the real president of the United States is here. Oh my God. Wait, what are you guys? This is an unbelievable moment. Oh, you do not look at Joe Biden. Sit down.
He said, "You don't even look like Joe Biden."
So scared.
Tony, what an unbelievable experience it is. What a great show this could be. Instead, we've got an absolute idiot here running the show.
This is a moment we will never forget. This is incredible. What a shocking surprise. No one more shocked than President Joe Biden. He looked so scared.
Who just shit my pants?
Oh my God. This is an incredible moment in the history of the show. Indeed, I can smell the president has shit his pants. This is absolutely incredible. We're going to watch some comedians tonight. President Biden seems extremely frightened right now.
I gotta go to bed.
So, President Trump, I believe you know how the show works, right?
Of course I do, Tom.
I have another one. I'll show you in a minute. He didn't talk that much in that one. No, he does. He's probably one of the best Trumps I've seen. And not to mention, he's just generally really funny. So this show, they're filming this in Austin, Texas, but this is what they used to film in West Hollywood at the Comedy Store. So I used to live like 2 blocks from the Comedy Store, and this was my absolute favorite show. I was obsessed with it, and you can see it a little bit, but they also have a band. And the band, they don't have the same band that they did in Hollywood, but the one they had in Hollywood was called the Best Damn Band in the Land, and they would dress up as crazy characters every week. So they would be like angry feminist or I don't know, just all kinds of crazy stuff. But now they're in Austin. They have a different band. But every Monday I would go to this show, and I used to sign up to be one of the comedians because they pick from a bucket. And when they pick you, you go up there, you stand kind of where, I don't know if you can see, there's like a red microphone off on the side of Trump. So they'll sit there at that panel, and then these brand new comedians will come and do an uninterrupted 60 seconds of comedy. And then you get cut off, then they roast you. So I would sign up to do that every single week. I don't know why. I never had a desire to do stand-up comedy, but I did. I just love this show so much. But I would go every single week. I went so much that they just started letting me in for free because I was there all the time. Okay, wait, which one are we playing? This one, I think you can hear Shane Gillis a little bit more.
About the price of milk skyrocketing under your presidency.
Here's the deal, folks. Milk is just milk. You know what it is.
Oh, I should have told you that. This show, it's called Kill Tony. Here, hold on, I'll put it in here. The whole show is actually over. Did that go up? I tried to comment on my own stream and it said that YouTube rejected my comment. I wonder if that's because I wrote, it said I was spam. It's my live stream. It's called Kill Tony. I tried to type it, but for some reason, YouTube is not letting me put that comment in there. But it's Kill Tony and it's on YouTube. So you can find it. Just search Kill Tony. This is, I think, the last episode. So it should come up right on top of the search when you search Kill Tony. And you'll see Trump and Biden's face on there. Why is my throat so dry? I can't believe it just rejected my comment. Is it because I said K-I-L-L? Jeez Louise. Okay. This one's pretty funny. You'll see Biden and Trump go back and forth a little bit. Oh, and then see that guy standing up. He's one of the comedians. So he probably just did his 60 seconds and now they're going to go back and forth.
About the price of milk skyrocketing under your presidency.
Here's the deal, folks. Milk is just milk. You know what it is. There's milk. There's water. You know.
Why don't you take off the
Fudge,
glasses and look
lemonade.
the American
What?
people in their eyes?
You can go to the store, you buy milk. You can call your mom. She can bring milk over. What do you want to do? Come on, you know what it is. When's the last time you bought milk from the store? 2 weeks ago. That's what I'm talking about. Milk's at the store. You can get it. The prices are high. They're low.
Yeah.
It's America, baby.
Yeah.
Nate, who do you plan on voting for come this November?
Think about your career right now.
Take your time.
What you should do is go on the record and say you will vote for Donald Trump.
Gotta vote for the winner.
I'll give you a ballot.
That's going to help your career in comedy for sure.
Will you get me?
I'll give you a ballot. You fill it out right now.
Right now?
A what?
A ballot.
A ballot?
A ballot.
Oh, you're going to give him a ballot in July? That is...
I didn't think this through.
I don't know if he meant to, I don't know if he knew what he was doing by saying, I'll give you a ballot or not, but that was pretty funny. What? Hold on. Did you ever participate in the Joe Biden nights at the Comedy Store? It was before he was ever president. What? No. That was a thing? Did you ever participate in the Joe Biden nights? Are you pulling my leg? Bill Burr would perform Joe Rogan's routine. Hold on. Hold on. No, I didn't ever participate in that because I don't know what it is. Was it really called Joe Biden Nights? They were making fun of Biden's plagiarism. Oh, that's so funny. That's very funny. I did used to go to, they would have, my favorite show is Kill Tony. So I went every Monday to go see Kill Tony. And then I would go, so I think they used to have a roast on Tuesday nights. But what was so sad, right before the pandemic, I lived in West Hollywood right next to the Comedy Store. and I was in between apartments. So I actually was staying with a friend in Venice Beach. So I lived in Venice Beach for probably about 3 or 4 months. And so I had a new apartment back in West Hollywood, and I was so excited because it was going to be right next to the Comedy Store again. And I thought, yay, I can keep going to the Comedy Store as much as I did because I could walk there. But then I moved back. Hello. I moved back in it was like right on 2 weeks to slow the spread. It was right when we went from 2 weeks to slow the spread to 30 days to slow the spread. It was right in between there is when I moved back to West Hollywood when I lived right next to the Comedy Store. And that was right when Joe Rogan, Brian Redband, Tony Hinchcliffe, which are the guys that are involved in that show, they all up and moved at the same time to Austin, Texas. And then they opened that comedy, it's called like the Comedy Mothership, I think. I was so sad because I was so excited to live next to them again. And they were all my favorite performers. That was my favorite show. Dana Carvey impersonating Joe Biden. No. Wait, should we look it up? Let's see. There's a cat hair on my phone. It's lovely. Dana Carvey. The last thing with Dana Carvey that I Googled was Dana Carvey Foxy. It's from Wayne's World, where he's like, it was 4 years to slow the spread. Dana Carvey Biden. Okay.
If you told me to do an impression of Biden, I go, I don't know what he sounds like. But then when you hear someone
Hold on, we're going to watch it on my phone.
do it, you go, that's it.
Yeah, there are young people online that do some amazing. But Biden was just, kind of initiated to my father. Lost his job.
Yeah.
Yeah. No joke. No joke. No one thinks it's a joke. Not getting around here. Come on, like the founding clause proclaimed in the Declaration of Independence. The people, all men are created equally. Excuse me, created, pardon.
You thought I did a video on Dana Carvey a while back? Maybe I did. I probably... Who knows? Ooh. Okay. Right before, I didn't even know what I was going to talk about. Oh, that's more recent. I didn't even know what I was going to talk about tonight. But I was so happy. About 45 minutes before I went live, I watched a clip of a podcast with Russell Brand. He was on, I think it's the George Janko. Yeah, it's the George Janko podcast. So if you want to watch the whole thing, hold on. It's up on YouTube. So Russell Brand was, well, you all know who he is. Russell Brand, he started out in his younger days. He was a really big, he was a drug addict, was like really promiscuous. He says he was like a sex addict and stuff like that. And he started out as an MTV VJ in the UK, which is where he's from. He ended up getting Yeah, MTV. He ended up getting an interview with Adam Sandler somehow on his MTV show, and from there, Adam Sandler's agent signed him, and then he obviously did a bunch of movies in Hollywood. And then around the pandemic, that's when he started his sort of podcast and YouTube channel where he was talking about just kind of similar things that we talk about sometimes. And he was really big in talking about the pandemic. And yes, he did marry Katy Perry. Really big about exposing stuff about that, talking about the World Economic Forum and Bill Gates, all that stuff. Anyway, so he also he was just baptized, I believe. I think he's Christian now. And this podcast, it's kind of a Christian podcast. And they were asking him if he would ever go back and work in Hollywood. And this is what he said. And I'm so glad I watched this because I have felt so similar. Obviously, I wasn't in the same world as him. I was more on the outside, just auditioning. I did work a lot, but not, for any of the huge, like major studios. So I wasn't necessarily like in his world or anything like that. But I have the same exact feelings towards that whole industry that he has. And I just thought he put it really well. So we'll watch that for a second. I haven't, and this is one thing, like, just I've thought about this I've never really been able to articulate it. He has over 1 million subscribers. Yeah, he has a really good show. I haven't watched him in a while, but his show is really good.
I realised I was a heroin addict. Didn't have no problem doing that. Ding, where's the heroin? Get it now. Or when I was like out.
So he used to be a drug addict.
They're trying to sleep with everybody that I met. Like, it was like, when no one had to tell me. I was sort of controlled by that kind of fervor, by that kind of. So now this kind of transition and this kind of transformation is happened kind of without effort. Nevertheless, there was a moment in the kind of like the sort of obvious in the ascent where it felt like it started to get disappointing even by its own terms. Like, you do a movie, in this case it was Arthur, that didn't do as well as I thought it was going to do. And I just felt so sort of like broken by it. So sort of like, ugh. Sort of like somewhere between shame and disgust and kind of emptiness. And from then I was still doing stuff, but it kind of didn't make sense to me. And I remember, of course, before all of this, I've been a drug addict and I grew up without money. I'm from a normal kind of like, I say always for American people, like New Jersey. It's like a normal blue collar, working class background where you're not in part of all of this stuff. So like when it all started to sort of not mean anything, when it started to not even feel like it was a continual ascent, where I went back to was a different, like an awareness that I'm not even from here. This isn't what I'm about. I don't care about this stuff. And I was waiting for this. In retrospect, I was waiting for this. May I say this too, that I'm a father and I have 3 children. I have my beautiful little son, who's 11 months old. I have my 2 daughters, who have sort of 5 and 7, and just big, open, radiant, powerful faces, watching these 2 little girls growing. It's so magical and so marvelous. I think about, why would I want to go back into that? Why would I want to go back into those institutions and everything that I know that they represent and everything they elevate and celebrate and all of the things that they delight in and their values? I'm scared of it and appalled by it. And also it seems to me that a different world is opening up and I'm not in control of it. My job is to remain in submission and remain in grace. And I know that the way I do that is if I can conquer.
Hi, Braxton. You saw me on TMZ. Which episode was I talking about? I've come to really, really, really enjoy Russell Brand, and I'll speak more on this in just a second. I've never really been able to articulate. He feels exactly the way that I feel about all of that stuff. And I've never been able to articulate it in the way that he does. But I've often thought about it too, because especially since, I talk about things online that some people don't really agree with. And it's so funny because people, yes, I was in a scandal. No, I wasn't. People, if they don't agree with you, they're weirdos. They'll go like search you online, and they'll search you online and they'll see that I have like an IMDb page or something, or that or they'll see like acting clips, and they'll say you're a failed actress, because they're trying to attack me for disagreeing with me. But I'm like, no, the joke's on you, because I feel exactly like him. It was a time in my life, and I've just grown and evolved, and a lot of the things I've learned, we're going to get into some of that in just a second, about some of these studios and places that I used to audition for. It's just stuff that I don't agree with what Hollywood celebrates, what they hold up. There are really great people that work there. They're really genius people. I'm still friends with some of those people. There are amazing people that work in that field, but it just as a whole entity is not, it's just not for me anymore. I don't want that. I don't desire that at all. I still like to act, but I don't want to go audition for them, if that makes sense. No, wait, but he put it well. It's like I've just changed. And since then, other things have opened up, and I have a different path. I just have different things that I'm interested in now, I guess you could say. And he said it really well. I've never really been able to put it like that. Okay, let's talk about TMZ. First of all, I was in a scandal. You're getting caught up in scandals? Just plead the fifth. Yeah. Okay, wait. First of all, okay, I was on 2 episodes. I want to talk about both of them. The first episode that I was on, so basically what it is, I think they found me on TikTok or something, and they just emailed and asked if it's not as crazy as it sounds. They just emailed and asked if I wanted to come on for just like a short little segment to give a comment on one of their stories. So what they do is, I've been on twice now. So what they'll do is they'll send you the story, or they'll send you a bunch of topics, and then you'll pick one, and that's what you'll comment on the show. They'll approve it, and sometimes it can change. And the way that the show runs is you call in probably like a minute or 2 before you're going on. So you'll see the story before yours, and then you'll listen to the host talk about your story, and then you give your comment. And they always tell you, just like, be flexible, because, you never know what direction the hosts are going to go into. And both times I was on the show, they went in a completely, like, the complete opposite direction of where I thought they were going to go. Like, I was on the opposite end of the spectrum as far as opinions than they were. So my first story was, what is that guy's name? I think he was a golfer. I want to say his name was Scotty. Hold on. He was a golfer, and he had a situation. He was driving, and I think the road was blocked off. There was an accident, or something was happening. The road was blocked off by police, and he accidentally drove through. He didn't see the cop telling him to stop, so he drove past the cop, and then the cop tried to grab him. Hold on. Scotty Schaefer, that's his name. Scotty Schaefer. So he had this altercation. Anyway, the cop was saying that he ran him over. The cop was accusing Scotty of running him over. Well, then the body cam footage came out, and it was clearly that's not what happened. So I actually just had something similar happen to me. I was driving up, like, literally a week before I was on the show. Almost the same exact thing happened to me. I was driving, and I came up upon an accident where the police were blocking off the road, but I couldn't tell they were blocking off the road. There was so much going on that I was just, I didn't, there was a cop that was telling me to stop, to like turn around and go the other way. I didn't see him at all. And I was following the car in front of me because I think I was the first in the rows of cars that he was turning around. And I was just driving really slowly, going through where the accident was. And all of a sudden, there was a knock on my window, like in the middle of the road. The cop ran up beside my car and was knocking on the passenger side. And I rolled it down thinking, hi, like I was in a good mood. And he just laid into me. And he was like, I told you to turn around. You went right past me. He was so mad at me. I was like, I'm so sorry, officer. I didn't see you. So I took Scotty's side, and they didn't. They took the opposite. They took the cop side. But I was vindicated because that was before the body cam footage came out. Then it came out, and I was right the whole time. I don't know if that's how they bring all their guests on. Well, it's probably not how they bring all their guests on. They're fun, though. I like their show. It's fun to do. What was my other topic? I think it was like Prince Harry or something, which I've never been into the royal family at all. At all. Oh, thank you so much, Mikey. Harry and Meghan, yikes. Well, wait, what was it? It was it was because Harry, why are my topics are sports related? I don't know why. It was Harry was getting an award at the ESPYs. It's the what's his name? The Tillman Award. I don't know. It's an award that usually goes to a veteran. It's like a really high honor. It's a really special thing, and they were giving it to Prince Harry because he has a foundation for veterans. I think he was in the military for a while. Anyway, they were giving him the award, and again, I came in with an opposite opinion as the host. I thought they were going to be on my side. They were not. The mother who the award is named after was furious that they were giving it to Harry. And she said that this was clearly bought and paid for, and a lot of the public was really upset about it. They weren't happy about it. So I kind of took that side. And while I was sitting there, like in the queue, waiting to be on the show, they were talking about it, and they were actually talking about all the work that Harry did for veterans, which I didn't even know about. And I brought that up. I was like, well, from a public perspective, that he's always surrounded by controversy. Like there's always a drama with him and Meghan, and that's what people associate him with. They associate him with her because she's always leading the headlines with him, and it's always just constantly drama and like whiny victim behavior. So that's what people associate. They don't know a lot of the things that he's done because it's always drama. Harry, he could be the nicest guy ever, but I personally, I don't follow the royal family, but I associate him with her. Harry does is that how you say it? Invictus games every year? Oh, I know who she is. Stephanie Alternerd. I found her from, I used to watch I was watching the Johnny Depp trials, and I think I found her during that. Oh, cool. I always forget about that. That they're Canada's Royals too. That's so wild. All right, so I told you we're going a little dark. Not too dark, just a little dark. And this is what I was talking about with Russell Brand. So that Russell Brand clip we just watched, where he was talking about Hollywood and how that's just kind of not him anymore. He also talked about how, and I experienced this too, like maybe there might have been a role that I really wanted and I didn't get. Or like I actually used to have a friend, her and I had very similar casting and we would go out for very similar things. And it almost like we're actually still friends, but it's just kind of a weird, I don't know. You feel like a weird, like there are times where we would audition for the same role and I would get it and she wouldn't, or she would get it and I wouldn't. And I remember she's probably a much more mature person than I, but I just remember feeling like a kind of a weird jealousy. And it's just a weird thing when you're a confident person and when you're happy in your life, you don't feel things like that. But when you're kind of in that world and it's so competitive, it's like it turns you into something that you're not. Anyway, so I auditioned for mostly animation. This story came up this past week. And this guy, I looked up his IMDb, and he has definitely worked on things that I've auditioned for. He's worked on tons and tons and tons of stuff. Can I even put that on there? I didn't realize that word was there. So he's worked on tons of projects. Yeah. And oh, another thing came up today. I think this one is about, okay. I'm going to read this to you. This is about him, that guy. I think this guy is a big YouTuber. His name is Keemstar. Is he a big YouTuber? I just randomly saw his post today and he was talking about this guy. Keemstar. I think he's a YouTuber. He looks a tad bit scary. He does. Sure does. Okay, so he said, he's talking about this guy. Finally, after 8 long years, the creators that supported the cartoon CP artist that drew my 8-year-old daughter in a sexual manner are getting called out by the internet. Thank you. I knew justice would come one day. At the time in 2016, the only creator that went out of their way to call this out was, is he talking about this guy? Now I don't even know. The cartoon. There are 2 guys. It's this. It doesn't matter, actually, if it's not this guy, because it really is the same thing. I'm making the same point. But now, who supported the cartoon artist. I don't know that. Anyway, okay. We're making the same point. At the time in 2016, the only creator that went out of their way to call this out was Colossal is Crazy. I want to thank him again. So many of those creators that supported the CP cartoon artist Shadman, is that him? I need to know this now. I'm sorry. No, I think this guy is different. Oh, that's a totally. Oh, that okay. That was another big story. It's the same exact point though. So many of these creators that supported the CP cartoon artist Shadman will say today, at the time, everyone liked Shadman, or that was edgy humor back then. These statements are false. Drawing kids in that manner was not the humor in 2016. It also wasn't every creator supporting him. Most did not engage with him or this topic because it was so wrong and disgusting. If it was everyone, then we would have screenshot proof of way more creators. Please pay attention to the creators that actually, okay. So this, since I stopped auditioning, things have come out. So it looks, I think he's obviously talking about a different type of creating, but it really is kind of, it all goes into the same thing because similar things happen in movie studios. You had Nickelodeon, Dan Schneider with Nickelodeon was, so he worked on these children's shows and were putting children in really compromising positions on purpose, you know, perverted things on purpose. And the kids didn't realize it at the time. The parents didn't realize, nobody really realized it at the time because these were kids shows that he was working on. So I think the parents and everyone just trusted that the adults had the best interest of the kids in mind. And that wasn't the case. They were exploiting a lot of these kids. And which is exactly what this person does, which I don't know how often it happens, but it definitely happens where you'll have people that are a little bit sick and twisted that'll write really disturbing things because they have a sick and twisted mind and like to see people in those positions. And that's just the thing. You don't, in this story, it kind of like it's not a secret that stuff like that happens in Hollywood, but when I was there, I thought to myself, okay, well, at least if I'm mostly auditioning for animation and I can be a little bit pickier with on camera things, if that's where I focus on, if that's what I focus on, you know, they're cartoons. It feels a little bit cleaner. It's a lot more innocent is what you think, but it's just that rot is everywhere sometimes. And you don't really know because when it's, and the reason I wanted to read that tweet by Keemstar is because he's pointing that out too. And you don't know because when it's a creative project, that line between what's appropriate, what's art, and what's just plain perverted gets so blurred, especially when it's like comedy or anything creative. I'm going to tell you the creepiest story ever. Corey Feldman keeps talking about this stuff. Yeah, I'm sure. And that's probably what kind of messed him up a little bit. Well, he said that publicly. But you don't know. And I remember like having that when I first started acting, when I first started acting when I was still living in Denver, I used to do student films at the local universities. So I think it was like was it the University of Colorado? I don't know, whatever university is in downtown Denver. So I used to do a bunch of student films for them. And one of them, I was doing an audition and it was just, I had this script. When I got there, I got more of the script rather than just the part that I was supposed to read in the audition. So I remember looking at the script and seeing there was like it was a short like comedy film or something, and there was a really like raunchy scene in there, and it was a comedy film. And I mean, you have movies like There's Something About Mary, like you have comedy films that sometimes will have sort of raunchier scenes, but it's not, I didn't feel like that was degrading to I don't know. I think you get what I'm saying. So again, that line is just blurred. But I remember sitting there, and the guy that wrote the script, he was the one. He wrote the script. He was also the director. He was doing the casting. It was a student film, so it's a small crew. I remember seeing him, and I don't mean to make. I'm not trying to make fun of his appearance, but he was just like really overweight, like kind of sweaty, like gross skin. Just somebody that, and like he, at that time, he's a student, so he's only like a few years out of high school. And I thought to myself, how do you know, as like an actor, if you're auditioning for something, how do you know that the person that's writing this isn't just like a weirdo who, like, how genius is that? This kid maybe, I don't know, didn't get attention from anyone in high school, and now he's writing a script and he gets to audition girls and have them do whatever. I just had that thought in my head. And since I left that whole world, all of these stories are coming out about all of these studios that I used to audition for, and just how that is a thing that happens. It very much happens. I don't know how much, and I'm not saying not everyone in that world is bad. There are some amazing people in that world. There's some great people. I already told you I'm still friends with some of them. But I don't know. You just never know. No, ma'am, cartoons aren't clean and innocent. I will say, like, some of the like kind of adult cartoons, they are really funny. I have read for some of those, like the more like Adult Swim type of stuff. Some of them are really funny. I'm glad you're not in Hollywood anymore. Thank you. Oh, here's the creepy story. So creepy. Hold on, let me see if I can find this headline. This actually has to do with a cartoon artist as well. Actually, no, I think he did comic books. He did illustrations for comic books. Girlfriend. This is so creepy. Oh. Oh, okay, okay. I actually walked past this crime scene. Okay, here's the headline. I walked past this crime scene. It happened in 2017. So let me tell you what I walked past, and then I'll read to you what happened. So I used to live, I think that was when I first moved to Hollywood, to West Hollywood. I think it was when I first moved there. And I had this little part-time job at a sports bar, and it was close to my apartment, so I could walk there. And I was walking there one day. I walked past a bunch of sheriff's cars. It was a residential area, so I was able to walk to work because I could just like cut through all these residential areas and then come up behind my job. And I was walking to work, and I just walked past probably like 6 sheriff's cars and like news trucks and all of this stuff. And this is how silly I am. I thought to myself, I mean, you live in Los Angeles, so I was like, oh, they're filming something. I also lived close to the Sunset Strip, so I was thinking they're just filming a movie or something because I saw the cameras, and I just didn't think it was a crime scene, especially one that massive to just like walk up on it. And this guy offed his girlfriend, and I'm going to read to you what happened. I was never able to walk down the street again because it's so creepy what happened. and he's a comic book illustrator. The man accused of the gruesome torture and offing of his girlfriend. This is so graphic, I don't even know what I can say. I forgot it was this bad. Okay, the man accused of the gruesome torture and offing of his girlfriend by scalping her and draining her of all of her blood in Los Angeles apartment had already written a fictional version of a similar crime in one of his graphic novels. So that's what he did. I think Blake Leibel, 36, the son of a wealthy property magnate in Canada, is charged with that of his partner, Ukrainian-born model Ian Kasian. The 30-year-old model's body was found in May of last year. She had been tortured. I don't know if I can say that. Yeah. She had been tortured, mutilated, suffering of head trauma, and passed away having her drained. I'm so sorry. Mr. Leibel is charged with that and aggravated mayhem. Did you even know? I did not know that was a crime. Aggravated mayhem. He had reportedly lived in LA on an $18,000 a month allowance with dreams of making it in the comic book industry. Writing a number of stories based on violence. He is credited with working on an animated version of the Mel Brooks film Spaceballs, creating a failed film comedy called Bald, and publishing a graphic novel called Syndrome, which he described as grappling with the questions surrounding what provokes a person to commit evil acts. So creepy. He also wrote a screenplay for a film entitled Psychopomp, which focuses on a vigilante who took people's heads off and who opposed his personal code of conduct. Syndrome, which Mr. Leibel apparently handed out for free at Comic-Con, opens with a television news reporter standing outside at the prison where a serial killer is being kept the night before his execution. One of the killer's offings was shown in the comic book in which the couple are... Okay, so basically that's what he illustrated, what he did. So there are crazy... Sorry, that piece of hair. There are crazy people that sometimes write things. And how do you really know? I don't know. Yes. But that happened. I was never able to walk down that street again. And when the next time I had to look for apartments in that area, I purposely just avoided that street like the plague. That street was ruined after I figured out what happened. I saw something I wanted to respond to, and I don't see it now. I liked the animation world. It used to be a bunch of actually that the world has changed a lot. In the beginning, it was a lot of musicians that actually transitioned into doing voiceover, and that's because they were basically already in the studio, and then some animator would be in there and like, hey, can you put your voice on this? And they would do it. It's probably haunted now. Oh, you said you can just sense it? Well, I remember a really good friend of mine. This actually was in West Hollywood too. Crazy. There's a lot of weird crimes that happen there. So, a friend of mine was looking for an apartment at a different time in the same area, not on that street, but in the West Hollywood area. And he is I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a while, but at the time he would consider himself like atheist and not spiritual or any of that, just at all. Just a very matter of fact person. So he's not into any of that stuff at all. Doesn't even believe in ghosts, like nothing. Very, very factual or very matter of fact. I don't believe it unless I see it. He was looking for apartments in West Hollywood and he was staying at an Airbnb just there for the weekend looking. And we were talking, he was telling me about it. And he said he was staying with a guy in an Airbnb. Anyway, like he had a bunch of apartments that he was going to look at over the next few days. And he went to one and he was like, you know, Sarah, I went to that apartment and everything was fine. Like the price was good. It was a great location. Like the apartment was beautiful, like all of this stuff. He goes, I just had this weird feeling about it. He goes, I don't know what it is. I just did not like the feeling that I had in that apartment building. It was just, there was something almost like dark about it. And he also mentioned this to the guy he was staying with at the Airbnb. And the guy said, oh, wait, where was it? And he told him like where it was and everything. Somebody was killed there. So he sensed it. And this is a person, like I told you, he doesn't believe in ghosts. He doesn't believe in aliens. He's not spiritual. He was atheist, like doesn't believe in anything. But even he just sensed something weird. Remind me to never live in West Hollywood. Well, I also learned that if I have a morbid curiosity, I also learned that I think it varies maybe by state or I don't know, but there's like a 3-year window. If there was a crime that happened 3 years before, you don't have to tell anyone about it. If you're like a landlord renting out your apartment, you don't have to disclose that. Not that they will, but if you ask them if it happened less than 3 years ago, they do have to tell you, but they don't have to. So be careful. Do you have to be in a union to do voiceover work? No, but there are 2 types of jobs. When you act, there's 2 types of jobs. There's union and non-union. And by the way, there's 2. Sorry, my hair is driving me crazy. I can see it in there. It's huge right now. There are 2 main unions. There's SAG, and then actually no, SAG-AFTRA. Oh, there's like a baby union. Okay, there used to be 2 main unions, and they joined forces. So it's SAG-AFTRA. That's the main union that you'll hear about. So SAG is it's essentially like the main actors union. So you'll have union jobs and non-union jobs. So if you are in the union, fully in the union, you cannot work a non-union job. And if you are not in the union, you can only work a union job. It's so confusing. You can only work a union job if that whoever is hiring you for that role, if they can prove that they didn't use any of their, or that they can prove that you have a special talent that none of their other union actors have. And that's called being Taft-Hartleyed in, because that's the paper that you fill out you have to fill out they call it a Taft-Hartley form to prove that, or to say why you hired that non-union actor for a union project, if it's a union project. And basically, if it's a union project, that means that you filled out you submitted a script to SAG. They approved the script, said you can be a union project, and they hand you all this paperwork. When you're a union project, obviously there's a lot of benefits and protections to being a union project, but the union exists. It's technically supposed to exist to protect the actors. So that means like there's a minimum pay. So you can't go under a certain rate. So there's a minimum pay. And then, like I said, you have different insurances and protections and stuff like that in place for the actors and the production company. But you can work a non-union job. A non-union job, you're not going to have any of those protections, and they can pay you whatever they want. They can pay you $0, or they can pay you $50, $100, $1 million. I don't know. But you don't have those same protections for you as a worker, and then you don't have that minimum pay that they have to meet, and you won't have insurance. Do you have to pay thousands of years? Yes, that's sort of my problem. I had it the best way. I was SAG eligible, so I was like halfway in the union. So basically, like I said, the only way there's 2 ways you can join the union. One, get Taft-Hartley'd in, or 2, I think in if you live in LA, you can be a background actor on like 3 projects, I think, and they'll give you vouchers, and then you can join the union if you want. I think that's how a lot of people get into the union in Los Angeles. I Taft-Hartley'd myself in. I wrote, produced, and directed my own little project, and then I submitted my script to SAG. They approved it, and then I let myself join. Now, what happens though, if you're Taft-Hartley'd in, if you're SAG eligible, you're allowed to work 3 SAG projects until you're a must join. So when you're SAG eligible, it's kind of like the best place to be, because you can do non-union work if you want, and you can do like 2 more union projects if you want, and you don't have to pay. So you kind of get some of the benefits of being in the union, but you don't have to pay to get in. Yes, you pay $3,000 initially to join SAG, and then you pay a fee every year. I think it's BS that you pay that much to join. That's another reason why I was really careful about when I joined, because I didn't want to just get like one job that was maybe like 1 or 2 days of pay and then pay $3,000. That wasn't very smart to me. So I kept myself SAG eligible for as long as possible. Yeah, it's a lot of silly things. And the whole point of the thing is too, the whole point of unions, or what they try to sell unions as, is to protect the people in the union, which in some ways they do, but also in some ways they make it's just more like red tape, more obstacles. I don't know. The union up here, you have to pay union dues. Yeah, that's basically them too. Yeah, but you can work either. You just, if you're not in the union, you technically can't work a union job. And the reason I Taft-Hartley'd myself in is because I knew that I was moving to LA, and you're a lot less likely to be high. There's more people auditioning for the roles, so you're less likely to be Taft-Hartley'd. I don't think no, that's really interesting. You said, I don't think they protected actors from AI. I've actually been reading a lot of stories recently about how all that whole actor strike really hurt a lot of actors. And there's a lot less work and things being done because of that strike. And a lot of people, they're not getting as much work. They're having to get other jobs. All kinds of people, not just the actors, but crew and all kinds of people that work on the films. So, and they're blaming a lot of it on the strikes. This is my issue, I feel like, with unions sometimes, is they do that. What they do is they'll get in the ear of people, and they'll say, you deserve all of these things. You deserve this. You deserve that. You should strike and demand, demand, demand. And they do that. And then oftentimes, maybe sometimes the demands are met and the strike is over, but it just always feels like it ends up hurting the workers. And that's what this strike did in Hollywood. For instance, you want more pay. Okay, you get more pay, but now we have to lay a few people off. You have more pay, but now there are less jobs. And the timing of that whole strike, so you guys remember that it was the actor strike and the writer strike. I can't really speak for the writers, but for at least the actors, I'm like, this was right after the pandemic when Hollywood still wasn't back on its feet. This is nobody's going to the movies anymore. They've already like pissed off half the nation just by all the dumb things that Hollywood does and says. And now you're going to go on strike. They didn't have leverage. I thought the timing was just so ridiculous. They had no leverage. They weren't in a position to start making all these demands. And I think they maybe gave in to a few of them, but even still, it lasted so long, nobody even noticed. Literally, everybody forgot that they were even striking. And I think that they probably thought they were going to have I think a lot of the actors and writers thought that they were going to have a lot more public support than they did. And they didn't get any public support. The only people that I actually saw supporting them were my friends that work in that industry, or like family or friends of people that work in that industry, but nobody outside of the industry cared or really even noticed. Unless they cared when it was fun to make fun of it, but that was about it. And now it's all over the place. I think even Variety just had an article about it. Now there's less. You'll see article after article about there's just no jobs are drying up and people are leaving Los Angeles. I had and it was weird too because I had friends that were in LA. They're actors, but they're not working actors, and they were striking. I was like, what are you striking? You're just going to continue to not work? What are you doing striking? What are you striking? Oh, and one of the things that they were demanding was they wanted more pay. And this goes back to the union dues. This is why I was really careful about what I did, because you have no idea. Like it's a very competitive market, and you could get hired on a really big job and then not work for months. So all these actors were complaining. They're like, we only make so much money per year. Okay, well, you're not guaranteed full-time acting work. You're not guaranteed any work. Booking any job is like winning the lottery because it's so competitive. So that's kind of your own fault for putting yourself in that industry. And if you're not making money, that's just because you're not booking jobs. You're in an oversaturated industry. Like booking any job is exciting. So it's not that they're getting paid nothing. They get paid. I looked at I think a day rate. The day rate for, I think, just an extra is, I think, right around $200, which when you take that over 8 hours, that's above the minimum wage. What is that? I'm curious now. Is it 8 hours? Let's see. If you're 25 bucks an hour. So that's well over minimum wage. And they were wanting more money. And by the way, that's a background actor. That's not a principal actor. A principal actor makes a lot more than that. Hold on, let's see. What's a SAG day rate? Okay, so this is SAG low budget. A SAG low budget agreement applies to films with budgets. Okay. So under a SAG low budget film, a day rate for an actor working 8 hours, if you work more than that, you get overtime, is $783 or $2,700 per week. So $783 per day. Wait, yes. Or $2,700 for the week, which is still, that's well above minimum wage. And they were wanting higher pay. And by the way, and keep in mind, they're striking in California at the same time that they were having hotel strikes. The hotel workers were striking. It was like everybody was striking in California. I was actually there during that time. It was August, almost a year ago. All the hotel workers were striking and all of the actors and writers were striking. Everybody wanted more money. And then somebody somewhere was probably pushing for a $20 minimum wage for the fast food workers. So everyone wanted more money. Oh, here's a crazy story too. You'll get a kick out of this. And it was the same thing. I actually, where I was the last time I was in LA, I was staying in a hotel for a few days. And right where my hotel was, it wasn't a part of the group that was striking, the people that worked at my hotel, but I was staying like right off the Sunset Strip where all these hotels, like hundreds of hotel workers out there striking. And I wanted to talk to them. I was just curious about what they were doing. And it was so funny because they were like leaders. They must have worked for the union or whatever. I was only allowed to talk to their leaders. And I don't even think a lot of the workers striking didn't even speak English. So he was speaking for them. And you almost got the feeling like they were putting things in these people's ears and getting them to strike and asking for better wages, but it kind of felt like it benefited the union maybe more than them. I don't know. It was just a weird vibe. But the hotel strikers, anyway, I visited there a few weeks later. They were still striking. They were striking for a while. I don't know whatever happened with that. But I do remember reading a story about an illegal immigrant that came here under Biden. You have to laugh at it. Went and interviewed for a position at one of the hotels. There were like strikers out front, and they were literally replacing the strikers like right in front of them with illegal immigrants. I don't know what hotel this was, but I remember reading that story. Wait, I wonder if I can find it. You can't make it up. Okay, let's see if I can find it. It's not funny. Don't stop laughing. According to the Times reporting, nearly a dozen refugees primarily from Venezuela and Colombia, confirmed that they had been hired at hotels where workers were striking outside, some saying they had been given heavy workloads, long hours, and were forced to work without breaks. Okay, this is KTLA. Officials with the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office on Monday announced an investigation into labor practices at hotels across LA County after allegations that some hotels are hiring unhoused refugees living in a shelter on Skid Row to replace striking union workers, particularly in the housekeeping departments. This is why I'm laughing, okay? So I think I had a California person in here. There might be a few of you. I'm laughing because if you know California, if you live in California, all of like the kitchen staff, all of the, like, you go, the fast food workers, like housekeepers, they're all Hispanic. A lot of them don't speak English. And what happens with these unions and what people do is, this is how the whole thing breaks, because you get all these workers, they immigrate here, they're low skilled workers, and they go into these low skilled jobs and they start working these jobs, and then these union people get in their ears and say, you deserve a living wage, and they're like, yes, I do, I deserve a living wage. Meanwhile, these jobs weren't necessarily made for people to live off of. These a lot of times are like part-time jobs, jobs for teenagers, jobs for people to get back on their feet, jobs for people to move up. They're really good jobs for, even, I don't know, all kinds of people. There's a lot of different reasons people would want jobs like that. Obviously, it would be different if you're in a manager position, but they get in their ear and they're like, you deserve a living wage. So then they up the wages, and now there's less jobs available and everything else gets more expensive. But this happens in California all the time. That's why I'm kind of laughing, because of just the irony of how now a lot of these workers are immigrants. I saw them. A lot of them don't speak English. It's very normal for California. But they are being replaced by Biden's border, even them. It's just like the circle of life. Retard edition. Okay. Officials, wait, did I read that? Okay. Unite Here Local 11, the union representing thousands of workers. I told you. See, they get in their ear. So smart. Unite Here Local 11, the union representing thousands of workers in the largest hotel strike in the U.S., brought the issue of working conditions for migrants hired at LA hotels to the attention of District Attorney George Gascon. Boo, we don't like him. Hotel front desk workers, cooks, housekeepers, and others began their strike in July, demanding better working conditions, higher wages, health insurance, and pensions. And the hotels were like, well, screw that. We're going to hire illegal immigrants. Even they're being replaced. According to the Times reporting, nearly a dozen refugees, primarily from Venezuela and Colombia, confirmed that they had been hired at hotels where workers were striking outside, with some saying they had been given heavy workloads, long hours, and were forced to work without breaks. Some said they were given no prior information on how much they would be paid hourly, although others said they were told on their first day that they would be paid $19 an hour. A 17-year-old migrant, a student at Belmont High School who spoke to the outlet on the condition of anonymity, said he missed 2 days of school to clean rooms at the Holiday Inn at LAX. I know where that is. Naughty. They did not respond. The Holiday Inn at LAX. This is what George Gascon said. I need a follow-up on this. I don't think there's a follow-up. I want to know what happened. George Gascon says, we take these egregious allegations with the utmost seriousness. The mistreatment of vulnerable workers and their exploitation will not be tolerated. We will conduct an exhaustive investigation, working closely with Unite Here. Federal law allows asylum seekers and refugees to work in the U.S., and hotels are within their rights to hire replacement workers during the strikes. I didn't know that. So you can hire replacement workers during a strike. Well, yeah, I guess that makes sense. I've never striked. However, Kurt Peterson, co-president of Unite Here Local 11, told the Times that employers who hired migrants had stooped to a new low by tapping a vulnerable group of workers to undermine employees striking for a living wage. See, living wage. I do wonder how a hotel is supposed to know whether a person is homeless if they list an address and show up bathed and clean and sober. Keith Grossman, an attorney for dozens of SoCal hotels in negotiations with Unite Local, said this is all bogus. He says this appears to be another red herring generated by Local 11. I don't know what happened with that. Let me see if there's any updates. No? Ooh. Whoa. Okay, so they were striking for a really long time. Just ask Kamala, she knows. I was watching a really funny video of Trump saying that she talks in rhymes. She does. Who uses, oh yeah, Kamala. So they were striking all the way from July of 2023. They were striking for a really long time. The wheels on Kamala's head go round and round. Okay. Did I ever join one of those strikes? No. I was honestly, no. And the actor strike, well, I don't even audition anymore. I didn't join that. It was kind of embarrassing because I felt embarrassed for a lot of them. I'm not trying to sound mean or anything or make fun of anyone, but I felt embarrassed for a lot of them because like they just didn't have, it was just not a good time for a strike and they didn't have any leverage. I really think they thought they were going to gain a lot of public support because I don't know if you remember, but like years ago, it was a long time ago. Like I don't even think I was really watching a lot of TV at the time. But there was a big writer's strike and everybody, it was like news all the time. It's all anyone was talking about on the news was this big writer's strike and they had a lot of public support and it was a really big deal. And I think that they thought this strike was going to have a similar effect and it just didn't. Nobody cared. Do you mean Teamster? No, I'm not a Teamster. I'm a one-man band. I don't even really like team sports. I like to watch team sports. I don't love to play team sports. Solo sports. So Biden did address the nation tonight. Biden, I believe my record as president, my leadership to the world. No, I don't watch the WNBA, but I have been watching the drama because who doesn't want to watch that? Okay, Biden, I believe my record as president, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future all merited a second term, but nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So now he's going to be the hero because he stepped down to save democracy. There it is. Which what they're doing is actually like the exact opposite of democracy. which is hilarious. Yeah, Caitlin Clark drama. See, I know who Caitlin Clark is. That seemed to calm down a little bit recently. The Caitlin Clark drama. Maybe something worth watching. It was an actual address to the nation. Yeah, I'm probably going to watch it. It's scary to think Biden has 6 more months to go. Do we think he's going to make it 6 months? I don't know if he'll last that. I don't know. I don't think predicting anything at this time is just, I could go either way on a lot of things. Kamala sure was chosen as the candidate at breakneck speed. Who has declined? It was, I actually, I Biden, even when he was at his prime, was just a horrible person and just has always lied and whatever, in my opinion. So I don't like him as a person, just regardless, not just that he's Biden right now. But I, even given that, I actually like felt, sometimes I genuinely feel bad for him. I feel sad for him. I feel sad for him because it really feels like Jill is just like pushing him in this role, or he's being pushed in this role because he's someone that they can easily control. He'll just do whatever. And, you know, even though I have my thoughts on him, it kind of ruined his legacy. He could have left Washington with some dignity if he wasn't the president, or even if he announced he wasn't going to run again. I don't know, but he could have actually walked away with some dignity and walked away from his career in Washington with some dignity. But it's like it ruined his legacy. This is what people are going to remember him as. It's kind of humiliating. It's sad. And then I just feel like he should be at home relaxing. He said, don't, he's a very bad man. I know, but I'll have like little tiny moments here and there where I kind of do like just watch. Nobody wants to watch someone in that state be just propped up on a stage like that. All right, guys, it's starting to rain again. It's been raining here like crazy, but I think I'm going to get off. Thank you so much for joining. I need to get my regular StreamYard back. I'm probably going to do that tonight. But thank you for joining. That was fun. I'm glad Trump is still here. He'll take over soon. Do you think President I'm trying to read this. Do you think President Biden was set up to have the debate in June instead of later? It kind of seems that way. That's my little theory about the whole thing. My theory right now is I think that this was like a really good out for them. I think maybe they knew he wasn't going to perform well, and maybe they were like, okay, if we put him on that stage, we know he's not going to do well. And then afterwards, we can say, oh my goodness, we're so worried. And we can pretend that all of a sudden now we're noticing this and we're so worried about him. That it gave them a reason to out him and put Kamala in. And that way, I don't know. It was either that or they just realized his poll numbers are so bad. And I think that they were hoping to get Kamala in there, hoping she can probably get the Gen Z vote. And that was actually really smart too, because Okay, now my wheels are turning. That was really smart too, because Democrats have a very serious Palestine problem where the Democratic Party got really, really fractured with that whole thing. And I think having Kamala Harris in there, having her not go see Netanyahu today, like all of this, I think they're hoping to get that Gen Z back. Because definitely, and especially with Joe Biden, you're not getting a lot of Gen Z. And I do think that it shouldn't be underestimated how popular she could be with lower information people, women, Gen Z, all that. So that should not be taken for granted. Yes, we all know Kamala Harris, but a lot of people vote based on emotion or things that don't have to do with intellect and job performance. I know. Yeah, but that party got so fractured with the whole Israel Palestine thing, especially like if you go over to TikTok, it's all a lot of pro Palestine stuff. All right. I'm getting tired now. Okay, I'm gonna go. What time is it? Oh, it's like 10:30 here. It's past my bedtime. All right, you all. Thank you so much for joining. I'll be here more often, and next time I'm live, I'll announce it ahead of time so that you know when I'm here. All right, thank you all. Thank you. You have a good night too. Sarah, have you stayed in Virginia longer than expected? Yes, I have. But that was a good decision. All right, bye you all, and hopefully I'll see you very soon. Maybe tomorrow, but I'll announce it. More eternal despair, nothing new. That sounds awesome. Okay, bye you all.